welcome to today's session. Time is 1 o'clock Eastern time. If you're coming in from the Pacific Coast, 10 o'clock, welcome. Midwest, lunch hour, 12 noon. If you're coming in from the transatlantic European Union areas, good evening, bien soir. Any other type of language that I'm not really sure of, I do apologize if I am not saying it correctly, but welcome to today's webinar. We are doing 7 ways to increase Amazon sales and customer engagement in 2022. We got a lot of information to cover today. We're going to go over a quick agenda. We're going to introduce our speakers. But today we want to make sure that we give you the correct information and ensuring that you have what it takes to come up with some excellent strategies, whether it be organic, whether it be product reviews, PPC, different video strategies, things like that. We have some excellent guests for us today to help you out so that you can really dominate the marketplace for the rest of the year and as we get into Prime Day. So before we get started, first off, I want to welcome everyone. A lot of friends that I've met before are here. So welcome wonderful FeedbackWhiz customers. To all my new friends that are coming from SupplyKick or any other means that saw us, welcome. Really excited to share some knowledge with you today and really hear your questions too, and really share some insights into helping you shape your strategy. But we do have some housekeeping items. So the first thing, if you can't hear, simply adjust your volume. Down at the bottom, you'll see the panel of down on the bottom, you'll see a panel with some different options. You can either ask in the chat. We have some Q&A. We want this to be interactive. We got some poll questions coming your way today. It's going to be super fun. So just submit your questions in the chat box. We're going to come up to them at the end of the day. We're going to make sure that we answer your questions, each and every one of you, so that you can get the most out of what you want to do today. But before we get started, really think about what it is that you want to achieve. What are your goals? What are your challenges as we go into Prime Day and as we go into the second quarter of 2022? What are your challenges? What do you want to get out of this session to make it most important for you? And we're going to try and share and answer that for you so that you can move forward and dominate the market. FeedbackWhiz. We're going to share some resources with you after the day. But I want to introduce some special guests today. And we have our friends over at SupplyKick today that I want to introduce. This is Jamila Lasante. She is the Director of Brand Management. Jamila, how are you doing today?
Hey, Sam. Thanks for the introduction. Jamila Lasante, and I actually run the brand marketing team over at SupplyKick, and I really guide content, creative, and advertising strategies for our partners. I have been in marketing for 20 plus years. I know that dates me a little bit. Don't do the math, please. But I've been on both the agency and the brand side. So, quite literally, I understand the complexities of navigating the Amazon marketplace. So I'm really psyched to be here today and to share a little bit of what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, we're really excited. And tell us a little bit about SupplyKick, what it is that you're doing, how can you help out brands and brand owners?
Yeah, really quickly. I mean, SupplyKick is an e-commerce partner, right? We work with brands to really optimize and grow their revenue. We specialize in Amazon, but we also work across lots of different e-commerce platforms. Think of, Walmart, eBay, those kinds of platforms that are really growing and taking on similar capabilities that Amazon is doing.
Outstanding. And a big part of that is kind of some logistics, fulfillment, brand management, marketing, advertising, just kind of a full store shop, almost kind of, right?
Yeah. So, we have partners that are on the wholesale side and we have partners that are on the agency side, and we can work with you logistics and fulfillment. We have a whole brand management team. We have ad support, and then of course, sort of like a lot of the digital marketing techniques.
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, thank you for joining us today. And also on the other side, we have Molly. She is on the SupplyKick side, but she is our studio producer today. She's going to be taking over the chat there. So if you all have any questions, you have any insights that you want to share with us, go ahead and hit that chat button. She's going to get you all set up. If you have some questions you'd like to ask us, she'll also make a note of that in that little Q&A button at the bottom. And she'll be able to address those questions for you, and we'll tackle them at the end of the session. But we want to get started. We want to understand our 2022 Amazon audience, Jamila.
Awesome. So yeah, first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is kind of let's level set about who the Amazon audience is today. They could be different than they were a week ago. And what expectations do they have of your brand? I want to talk about this, but at a high level, right? You guys on this webinar are the experts in your particular consumer insights in your category expertise. So take what we say, the information we're providing, and connect the dots over to your insights that you have for your consumer. And what is the Amazon consumer like today? I mean, quite simply, they have the highest expectations of any consumer out there. This is really compounded over the last couple of years where online shopping has skyrocketed. And it's just the way that Amazon was built, right? Immediacy, convenience, all of that is built into these expectations that consumers have. They are more visual and appreciative of storytelling. They want a brand who makes them feel good, who does good, who's really credible and transparent. And they will judge you not only for your ranking and your listing and your pricing and your shipping, but they're also going to comb through your reviews and your ratings. And they're going to let you know, whether they agree or they're into what people are saying about your product and your brand. So once again, reminder, take what we're saying about the Amazon consumer and connect it to the behaviors that you already know. So connect the details of your consumer off Amazon with the behaviors we're talking about on Amazon. And then you've kind of got that magic formula to really cater your marketing specific to them. And really, I can't underscore this enough. This understanding is so important because it is the Amazon consumer that changes the nature of Amazon every day. I'm going to say that again. It's the Amazon consumer that changes the nature of Amazon every day. So let's dive in a little bit more to what I'm talking about. Sam, do you mind going back to some of the stats?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
I want to run through them really quick. Yeah, so this one is one of my favorites. I couldn't let it go. So one of, more than almost 70% of consumers start their product search on Amazon. And why I love this is because it really tees up what Amazon is today. It's more than an e-commerce platform. It's a search engine, right? Like it's both combined, and that's where it gets its power. So again, we can just kind of surf right through these. We know that Amazon consumers behave really differently on Amazon. They're taking what they want to get from Amazon, those high expectations, and then they're deciding whether or not they want to choose your product among a really saturated and crowded marketplace. They are looking for brands that are really transparent. So this is really important. Be clear about who you are. Don't give them fluff. Really let your brand storytelling shine. Talk about how you were founded. Talk about, why your products are different. This is what they're looking for: honesty and integrity. So, and the devil is in the detail with these shoppers, right? They really pay attention. They're going to look at facts and figures and certifications and disclaimers, and they really are paying attention to the features that you are specifying on your listings.
Yeah, they really, everything it just makes so much sense. I think every portion of the store is brought directly on Amazon, and they're going to be Amazon loyal. They stay on Amazon.
Exactly. And I mentioned this before, they are looking at your price. That is something that Amazon is really focused on. They're looking at your ratings and your reviews, and all of this is just in their consideration journey.
And we're going to talk a little A9 algorithm in a little bit too, as a nice teaser there. I like that. And
right.
as we said there.
So Sam, you were just speaking to this, right? So, there's that old adage, if you build it, they will come. Well, Amazon built it, but are they going to come to your listing? Well, that's really where your sales and your, engagement strategies come into play, because these shoppers start on Amazon. They're looking for, a purchase on Amazon. They have those high expectations, but it's up to you to get them to choose your brand. They are not necessarily loyal to your brand on Amazon. They are loyal to the platform, and that's where their behaviors shift.
Yeah, and it's all about efficiency and being quick and fast, right?
Totally. Immediacy, convenience. These are words that Amazon was really founded on. And so it's really important that you are factoring these into your marketing abilities. Cool.
And
so
go
ahead, Sam.
and everything. Yes, and saying everything. Obviously, you want to make sure when it comes into the mail, it's functioning exactly as you want it to. You want to make sure that it was displayed exactly as it was on Amazon. They don't want any questions whatsoever. Expectations are high.
Totally, totally. And, we're going to segue into these 7 different ways. Again, I want you guys to keep in mind your consumer and what you know about them off Amazon with what we share about what's working on Amazon. And be mindful that each of these tactics or programs in itself is pretty powerful, right? But what we're going to encourage is thinking about them holistically. So really stretching your strategy to utilize all of them and really getting a bigger impact in that capacity.
Yeah, it's a great segue into our first question too, right? Like for you, for our audience, we're gonna launch our very first question of the day, and this one is going to be, what is the biggest advantage of selling on Amazon? We got a few questions there. We'd like for you to chime in. Is it maybe the ability to engage millions of consumers, launch new products easily, vast supply chain capabilities? We'll talk supply chain in a little bit. That's a fun conversation. Maybe the ability to move inventory quickly, obviously the insightful customer feedback and reviews as well. And some information is coming in, and it looks like overwhelmingly, 90% of you, 92% of you agree that the ability to engage millions of customers is the number one factor, the biggest advantage of selling on Amazon. So we got the right people here. Let's move on here, and let's talk a little bit of improving that SEO and organic rank. What are some of the hot things right now, Jamila?
Yeah, so SEO, search engine optimization, quite simply is one of the most important things that you could do essentially, for yourself on Amazon. What does it mean? The content associated with your product listing determines your search ranking and ultimately your sales conversion, right? If you aren't saying the right things to show up in the right ways, the consumer may never find you. And the Amazon algorithm actually rates you on the keywords that you decide to use. They also rank you for your seller ranking and your product reviews and your price. But gosh, keywords, it really does boil down to the semantics of words behind your listings. And I would say that optimizing your SEO, one of the things I'm going to beat the drum about this entire webinar is you've got to come back and revisit it, right? You can't just set it and forget it. And SEO is one of the most important things because, as I mentioned earlier, where the consumer determines the nature of Amazon, if they start searching using different words because something happened in the world, for example, right? And trends have shifted the way somebody thinks about something or speaks about something or types something, it's going to affect the ranking that your listing has. So we really recommend that you think about SEO optimization on almost a quarterly basis, and come back and look at your listings and see what keywords are working and what aren't. And when I say SEO, I'm talking about your product titles, probably one of the most powerful tools you've got for marketing on Amazon. I'm talking about your feature bullets, your product description, and then of course the back end keywords that you plug in for the algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, with millions and millions of search, as we see, 66% of product searches start on Amazon. With millions and millions of search volume, there could be a really big difference between, you're in the top 5 pages versus like the bottom 30, so this stuff's like really, really super important, especially with thousands of sellers entering the platform every day.
Totally. I mean, that number has skyrocketed, honestly, in the last 2 years. So, it's both a blessing and a curse when we say the opportunities of Amazon is reaching millions of consumers. Well, guess what? There's millions of sellers as well. So you really have to distinguish yourself. So the next one I really want to talk about kind of piggybacks with SEO and content, but it's A+ content. So this is the space that falls a little bit below your feature bullets and your product description. And it is perhaps one of the most underutilized spaces on a product listing, to the detriment of some brands that don't even bother with it. What I like to think about here is it's really where some of your brand storytelling can come to life. I'm a brand storyteller at heart. I love this section of a product listing. And I like to think about it in terms of a pyramid as far as content strategy. So if you think about the top of your listing and you've provided a lot of detail on, the features and the benefits of your product, you move into the A+, and here's where you can elaborate a little bit more. For the consumer that has decided that they're going to spend a little bit more time on your listing, they are committing to educating themselves a little further, you can start to share short paragraphs. You can start to incorporate more video and visuals to really kind of elaborate on the product. The second component I like to add into my A+ content is think of, expanding your content strategy a little bit to talk about your category. Why are you an expert, right? Like, have you been in this category, for 25 years? Did you create the first, model of something? Are you brand new and you've done something different? So really underscore your story from that category expertise. And then the last part of the pyramid that I really like to take into consideration and give the consumer is the brand story, right? Like, why should they buy from you, your brand? There's lots of products out there that may be like yours, but why your brand? And this is really where you can kind of bring that true storytelling, to life and share with them a little bit more about why were you founded, or what problem did you solve, or what is meaningful to you. This is your way to connect with the consumer emotionally, right? And we all know that that's at the heart of marketing. So a few tips and tricks to keep in mind when you think about your A+ content. First of all, customize. So Amazon will give you an A+ template, but what does that mean? Everybody could use a template, right? You really want to bring to life your brand and your products where you can. So think about your brand identity, bring in some of your colors, use your typography. If you have visuals, designs, lifestyle imagery that you've used on your website, bring it over into your A+ content, because you really start to build recognition of your brand for that omni-channel consumer. So second, think about things that could be real differentiators for your brand. Maybe you use them on your website and they really do belong over here, and A+ is that perfect spot for them. Think about certifications, a mission or a vision statement that, again, really kind of resonates with your target audience, lifestyle visuals that maybe you didn't already use up at the top. A+ is the space to do that kind of stuff. And then last but not least, I would say, because A+ really opens up the possibilities of storytelling, one of your best resources in your A+ strategy is to read your own reviews. Go through them. What do people love? What are some pain points? And then build those back into your A+ storytelling in a way that sort of checks the boxes and maybe will reduce the number of complaints you have, right? Reduce the workload on your customer service team, but really try to quickly and efficiently answer their questions before they even have to have any.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
with hearing all of this, you can definitely see that A+ takes a little bit more strategy, right? It'll take a thoughtful approach, a little bit more time, but as you can see from the stat that we have here on the slide, our partners have seen up to 25% more conversion with a well thought out A+ plan.
Yeah, I love this. Love that you put in the reviews there. I think I'll probably hit on that in a little bit. But you're absolutely right, right? Like, there's no better storytellers than your customers. And if you can use like their stories to implement A+ content, it's a home run right there. What about product videos though, Jamila? Is that something that is it almost going to be like QVC type of mentality here, where people are just going to be showing, hey, welcome, like tell me a little bit about product videos.
Vanna White style? Well,
Yeah.
maybe if that's your brand identity, but no, what we're encouraging here, I mean, quite simply, again, another fun fact here, 3.6 people are more likely to convert if you have a video on your listing and they've watched it. So, there's a reason to think about video. And there's a reason why Amazon is prioritizing video now. So if you think about off Amazon digital marketing tactics, right? Facebook prioritizes it now. Instagram went and prioritized it. YouTube is a search engine in itself. All of those feature video. So take that and apply it to the Amazon platform. And video is a must-have nowadays. It allows you, again, storytelling, building your credibility. And for an online shopper, a video may be the closest thing they've got to actually like physically interacting with your product before they decide to buy. So it's super critical. And we have a couple tips that we want to share with you guys. So you should have at least one high quality video. And again, this is playing with the Amazon algorithm because Amazon is now going to favor video over your photography. So really important to think about. Now, you could decide to do QVC style if you want. We prefer to boil it down to two particular styles. So you kind of have an option of easy to create, very quick to get up, animation, right? And perhaps you've got a product where it could use some explaining and you just want to animate that really quickly to bring consumers, up to your speed. The other option is a lifestyle video. And, yeah, that's going to involve some models. You might have to find a location shoot, but really you may want to put the product in a real world situation for your consumer to see. So that may be a better option for you. The next thing, when it comes to video, again, when we talk about immediate and convenience with Amazon, you've got to keep it quick, right? They don't have 3 minutes. They're maybe going to give you 30 seconds. So what I like to remind people is when you shoot a video or have a video produced, you can create a longer piece. Because what you can do is you can chop it up, right? You can put a 15-second video on Amazon. You could put the 60-second video on your website, right? That's the other wonderful thing about video is it's multi-purpose. And so there's extra value. If you produce one piece of content, it can be sliced and diced across a lot of different digital mediums. So, if cost is a concern or how am I going to get this done? Think about the usage of it and really how that value is going to stretch across a variety of platforms and digital marketing techniques, essentially.
Great stuff. I mean, like 30, 60 links, obviously, I think it's a great number for organic, and then obviously shorter for ads. I think I read somewhere recently about 7 to 10 seconds. It seems to be the sweet spot. So excellent stuff. I'm always interested by video as a marketer myself. One thing I don't really know a whole lot though, Jamila, is on storefront optimization. Yeah. And this is kind of like something, obviously you all are the experts around the storefront optimization. We have a lot of our users right here in this audience right here. They're dying to understand like, hey, how can we improve our sales by 30% with Amazon storefront optimization?
Yeah. So, again, another underutilized tool by a lot of brands, but an easy way to translate why this matters, it's your website on Amazon, right? If your consumer, your omni-channel shopper has decided that they're going to find you on Amazon, you basically need to give them your story on Amazon. And the storefront is the best place to do it. Again, this is Amazon borrowing from traditional digital marketing, putting it over on its own platform because your brand store allows you to storytell. It allows you to prioritize selling tabs. It allows socialization with posts. And they even just added an email marketing capacity. So, these have been around for a considerable amount of time on the Amazon world, but Amazon is now just starting to prioritize them, and they are converting. And the reason we know that they're so valuable is because there are metrics that you can dig into behind them, and that's what's so cool, right? You can see the traffic that goes to your storefront. You can use advertising to drive the traffic to your storefront. I should start there. And then once they're on your store, you can essentially track their behavior on their store. You could see if your store converts and contributes to your sales, essentially. So it's a really cool storytelling component on the one hand, and then, a marketing feature that you can actually glean learnings from to apply, to optimize your content strategy moving forward.
I love the brand consistency, brand voice. That seems to be a common theme. And I think it's very important, especially in 2022. And we're going to explore that a little bit more too. But the brand consistency, keeping it consistent across those channels, yeah, especially for like walking through like what a storefront looks like, a good Amazon storefront here.
Yeah, this is a little case study we wanted to include in here. This was a partner of ours, South Bend Woodworks. So local family-owned business. They specialize in wooden creations, sort of heirlooms, that you would pass down generation to generation. And one of the things that they sell are these personalized puzzles. So their most popular selling season was October to December. And these things make great gifts. So we talked to them ahead of time, and we really, came to the conclusion that their storefront could really use some optimization. Again, bring your brand to life on your storefront where you can elaborate in multiple products, multiple styles. And so we worked with them to really kind of visually bring what they wanted to sell to life during that seasonality, and boom, 30% lift. So great little case study. And the reason why we wanted to share this with you guys, hopefully Prime Day is in all of your minds, right? Some of you are probably like, oh no, I don't want to think about Prime Day yet. And then some of you are like, oh my God, I have to start thinking about Prime Day. So yes, it's time to start thinking about Prime Day. And these are the kinds of, what we're talking to you about today are the kinds of things that you can start to work on now, with a partner, weaving into your strategy and be ready to go for all that traffic that's going to hit Amazon during Prime Week.
Just in time at Prime Day is a nice little bonus. And I think you got one more bonus for us right here on Amazon posts.
Yeah. So this is funny because this is another feature that Amazon is, kind of borrowing from traditional digital marketing and putting it into the Amazon environment. So they're attached to storefronts, and the feature is called Amazon Posts. Now, the service itself is still in beta, but Amazon is continuing to prioritize it. And I will say, caveat, you have to be a brand registered seller with a US based store. But essentially, this Amazon Posts feature allows you to share content in a shoppable feed, engage with followers, and then even email market to them afterwards. Sound familiar? It's digital marketing 101. It's just now being done on the Amazon platform, right? And what Amazon is trying to do is they're trying to create a sense of community between sellers and shoppers. And I love this about Amazon. They are not shy. What have they decided to call this tool and all the things that you can do with it? It's the customer engagement tool. So I had to mention it for this webinar. And it really kind of rounds out this particular things I've been talking about because, it wraps up really nicely in a bow your storefront, posts, follows, and adds this new kind of component of email marketing all in one tool. And so the strategy really is this holistic perspective that we've been trying to talk to you guys about, where you can really teach your consumer, launch new products, engage with them, promote something, and essentially build loyalty on the Amazon platform.
And I love that you obviously this is kind of a newer feature. It's a little bit, as you say, in beta. I love that you're thinking about the future of Amazon because this is all I think people are gonna start realize, hey, the future, it's coming and it's coming quick. That's gonna lead us to our second poll question though, and it's going to be, excuse me, I'm sorry, let me launch that real quick. And it's gonna be, hey, do you plan on using video in your Amazon strategy this year? Yes or no? I think people should probably, and we're starting to get some nice participation in here. All right, about 100% want to use Amazon Video. I think that's obviously the correct route to go. And we obviously, again, we're just proving that you all are absolutely in the right spot for today. And we're going to keep moving on. Thank you so much for that. And we're actually going to talk now a little bit more like we went organic. We went, for your product launches, we talk about organic, we talk about SEO, getting product titles up top, but you still kind of, despite PPC costs rising, 30% or so the last couple of years, I know it's been a little stagnant recently. You really can't develop your launch, your product strategy, your Amazon marketing strategy without thinking about ads.
Yeah, ads are super powerful, right? I think of them as that final piece of the marketing puzzle, right? If you've got your listings in place, you've built your storefront, you're really ready for the consumer to land where you need them to. you have to think about the Amazon marketplace. And again, those millions of shoppers and millions of sellers, you need to get them to your listings. So ultimately, when your ads are managed correctly, they are going to increase your sales. Bottom line, it's so simple, right? And then, what else can advertising do for you? It can help you defend your search and your sales ranking. And it's really part of this holistic strategy that we've been talking about. So there are 5 different kinds of ads that you can run on the Amazon platform. The first 2, sponsored product, sponsored brand, are the easiest. They are no-brainers. They, at SupplyKick, we consider them staples. They're the first things we set up for new partners. And they're really easy to set up. They're really easy to measure, and they're really easy to take learnings and optimize moving forward. So great, make sure you get it done. I talked a little bit about adding video to sponsored brands. So you can have sponsored brand video ads, which again, you think of the statistics that video contributes for conversion. This is taking a sponsored brand and adding a video component. Again, sort of a no-brainer there if you've got video. And so the last 2 I want to talk about are sponsored display and Amazon DSP. These are kind of newer to the Amazon portfolio.
Excellent.
So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sam.
I know. I think you use a term in here on the slides. I know you're going to hit on it in a second, and I wanted to bring it up because it's all about kind of getting the right customer in the journey, right? Like in those ads.
Yeah. So, and getting the right consumer wherever they are in their journey, that is the specialty of sponsored display ads. So these ads are different from your sponsored product and your sponsored brand in that they're not driven by keyword searches. Okay, so let that sink in for a little bit. They are driven by consumer behavior and interests, right? So what it does is it's Amazon serving ads that look and function very similarly to digital marketing tactic, digital marketing display ads, right? So they display all across Amazon, homepage, search results, product listings, but they also display off Amazon. So with Amazon partners and third-party apps that Amazon works with. So there's a lot of value there. And you can build a display strategy to defend your brand. You can build a new consumer acquisition campaign. You could build a retargeting campaign. So they're very easy to build. And the strength really is meeting the consumer and then consistently continuing to put your ad in front of them as they travel across these Amazon related sites so that you get multiple touch points and ultimately trying to push them through that funnel towards conversion. So besides display, the new one that people whisper about in the hallways, as far as us marketers go, is Amazon DSP. It means demand side platform. And if I was going to simplify it, think about display ads on the Amazon network that also include video and audio. So maybe your ad's going to land on Kindle, right? Maybe it's going to be on IMDb. So, and the other kicker about DSP is they are programmatically bought. So Amazon is really kind of working to control the placement of these, following your consumer around, similar to display, optimizing your bidding strategy for you, but you're really, again, getting that breadth of placement. And the great thing about DSP that differs from sponsored display is you can really, really highly target your consumer. So this is where the targeting is really strong. Amazon does make you pay for it. I won't lie. It is such a cool feature, and they've collected so much data about all of us, as we all know. They really bring that data to life with DSP. So it is a service that you have to pay for, or you're going to need a partner who is going to do that on your behalf. But it's a really cool feature, and we want to make sure that all of you guys are aware of it because of those targeting capabilities. So, with everything that we're sharing here, again, a couple things that I want to make sure that I underscore. Amazon itself is constantly evolving. What makes it change so much? The consumer. What makes the consumer change so much? Anything, what's going on in the world changes the consumer, right? So if you think about that linear effect of everything changing how Amazon functions, that's really why we want to bring to life the notion that you have to consistently optimize your presence on Amazon. I know that that sometimes sounds exhausting, but it's to your benefit so that you defend your search, organic or paid, you're reaching your consumer, what the consumer gets mailed to their door looks like what you shared with them online. All those things that matter to the Amazon consumer is the reason why you really need to maybe think about quarterly optimizations, going back to your listings and saying, gosh, what keywords are performing the best? And am I optimizing for it? Do I have new packaging? Excuse me. New packaging that I want to put beautiful new imagery up, and that's really going to help sell your product. Have I worked with someone and really articulated a beautiful brand story? Fantastic. Let's get that onto our storefront. So these are all things to consider when you go back and you kind of optimize, and certainly time that around seasonality, Prime Day, promotions, launches. So that's really my takeaway, is that all of these things, optimizing them frequently, using them in unison to really bring your brand to life, is how you can consistently engage with the consumer and remain memorable in an oversaturated platform, essentially.
Wonderful. I'm actually really, I never, we were obviously not in the, we were in the track and measuring space, product reviews, P&L tool kind of things, product monitoring. Haven't heard a whole lot about the DSP ads. I am really excited for what's bringing to the table. And thanks so much for sharing that with us. But
of course, they are the hot new thing for us, Amazon marketing nerds.
Yeah, I'm excited, and marketing nerds in general, right? And I'm going to ask you as a marketer, right? So you've optimized your ads, you've optimized your strategy, you've effectively, you've launched your product. Are you done yet, Jamila? Is marketing, you're done, right?
Nope.
Oh no, that's
not
right.
even close.
Done. Only half the battle is done, and so we have this nice quote here, and it goes nicely to what you were saying, Jamila, a second ago. So this is a quote that the Amazon CEO came out with about 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. Kind of goes into Amazon's mentality. And when you talk about Amazon's always tweaking the algorithm, we're going to go into the A9 algorithm very, very briefly in just a moment. Really hone in on this, right? We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better. I think that goes hand in hand with everything that you're saying right here, Jamila, in terms of, Amazon's constantly tweaking it for the consumer behavior. Sellers need to make aware, like, the consumer behaviors are changing. That probably means something on Amazon's algorithm is changing as well. At least that's the way we interpret it, right?
For sure, Sam, you've nailed it. Yep.
Excellent. So, obviously you ran the successful product launch for that Kpis best practices are showing, but that's not it, because the customers, as everyone goes on reviews, and you can see right there across all of e-commerce, 95% of customers read reviews before purchasing a friend. I saw another stat that was recently 88% of consumers on Amazon trust the reviews as much as they trust a friend. So that's kind of like, it's, that's, people are reading reviews. The Amazon A9 algorithm, we'll go over that briefly. We've got some great resources to share with you after the webinar that we'll be sure to send you in an email. Essentially, it relies on seller authority, right? So to rank your products, right? So, as long as you've been around for a while, you have a consistent brand presence. That's always going to help you out. But that being said, you can kind of, I don't want to say game the system, but, for instance, you might see some fluctuations very early on in a new product launch, right? So if you have 5 4-star reviews immediately, that's going to rank a little higher. Obviously, if there's like a 3-star, that'll bring it down a little bit. But long-term, and we all know organic growth is a long-term play. What matters to Amazon is consistency and the consistent seller feedback or product reviews that come back to you, 4 stars, 5 stars. It's 5 stars, excuse me. It's very important. And the most common ways that most of our users and sellers in general, brand owners, are doing that is through product insert cards, in-house email lists. There's an Amazon Vine program. Amazon also has if you're in the Seller Central account, a request a review button that you can just click. Everything will be all right there that you'll send. The most consistent way we're seeing though, and the one that's, a lot of these stuff that we say you can get product reviews on, it's going to take time, and all that time could be developed. All that time that all those best practices that Jamila just shared with us, you should be spending your time on strategy. You should not be spending your time on execution, and especially on tedious execution items. Like, for instance, there's no way that you would be able to scale product insert cards, right? Like, you also might be doing something wrong. We'll go over some do's and don'ts shortly, but you also can't scale if you're just pressing the request a review button every day. So it's really important to kind of automate that process, right? And make sure that you're delivering the right message to the right time to the right customer. Not unlike the ADS, or excuse me, the DSP, excuse me, that we just went over. You want to make sure that you're delivering the correct review to the correct order. So we're going to go over, this is going to be kind of a real abbreviated version of what's a do and a don't, and what's allowed with product review requests or seller feedback requests. And Jamila, I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. And I know, there's been some changes with kind of the Amazon review request process over the last 2 years. But do you remember a couple of years ago when you could just send every day, send a product review request, 7, 10 times, some people from 2016, 100 times. You remember those good old days?
Those good old days. Yep. Where it's just a quick, yep, check that off my list.
Unfortunately, the good old days are gone. Where have you heard that before? So now Amazon came out with some terms of service if you're a seller in terms of asking for product reviews. Now, again, I'm gonna send out a resource for everyone, because there's a lot of do's and don'ts. Right here, we're going to go over the most common errors that sellers are making in e-commerce and brand owners are making when asking for reviews. Number one, this is the most important. You can only send one, and it doesn't matter how you send it. It can be through through Amazon's request a review button. It can be through a third-party service provider such as FeedbackWhiz. You can only send one. A lot of times things will sneak through the Amazon system. It's very big, and obviously there's manual error there sometimes as well. But if you're pressing the request a review button, it should prevent you, but it doesn't always. So you have to be very, very smart about sending out only one review request. Or if you're using 2 different tools, right? Make sure you're not using the same the customer's not getting the same email request dozens of times, because you will get suspended eventually. You will get caught out. You can't use it. This is a big one too. You can't use suggestive language. Hey, did you enjoy our product? Leave us a 5-star review. Can't do it. You can't do it. It has to be a neutral tone. You can see over here, and this is just an example of, we're sending out a review request on our behalf. We have these pre-made templates available at feedbackwhiz.com. It has to be a neutral tone, as you see there. Like, we hope you enjoyed our product, right? If you have a moment, leave us a review. We would love your feedback. That's it. You cannot have any links outside of Amazon. You can't send it directly to your storefront. You can't, order shipment emails. Those are done because people were tweaking the system. And some other ways you can't have them contact you directly before leaving a review. There is an option, we'll get to that shortly, with a thing we call buyer seller messaging emails, in which customers can reply to the email, which gives sellers a competitive edge. But for the most part, you can't blatantly drive somebody and then answer reviews so that you're preventing a 3-star review or something like that. Those are some of the more common practices that we see sellers getting caught up on. Guess what though? You can't put your logo in there though. So that's a good thing right there, specifically as you're talking about expanding your brand voice across all channels. Email, right? Like hey, leave us feedback, put your logo right in there, be front and center, get your store top of mind with the customer. And Jamil, I'm gonna kind of ask you one thing. I know you're in marketing. How important is segmentation?
It's really important, right? Because you want to put the right message in front of the right person. Otherwise, they know that you don't care about them.
Right, right, exactly. And a lot of times with customer segmentation too, when you're able to tweak the message, and this can be across DSP ads, this can be across sponsored ads, this can be, where, in product review emails that come back, you always want to make sure that you're segmenting the correct message of your brand and your voice to the customer or to the potential customer. I mean, this basically just does four things for your business. It increases your reach and awareness, right? Ads on Amazon, right? You have potentially new buyers. You tweak your message there. You segment down to the customer and the behaviors on those. That's why I can't wait for this DSP. It sounds amazing. So you're able to increase your reach and awareness. Yeah, in terms of feedback, when you segment your feedback message, you can get actionable, customer insights. Now, Jamila, you mentioned a few minutes ago about how you take a customer, maybe some customer messaging, and you can kind of tweak that maybe onto your listing a little bit, maybe use some similar language. Is that something that you've seen as successful in the past with repeat customers or getting repeat customers?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was on the brand side, it was someone's responsibility actually to comb through reviews, especially when you launch a new product, right? Because you launch it with a perspective in mind, and the product is so new, you almost need that consumer feedback of, them using it, trying it, touching it, holding it, seeing it, to really kind of figure out, do I need to make changes to it? What do I need to, do to it to continue the success of this product that just launched? So understanding what your consumers think and feel about your product, number one, it demonstrates that there's real people behind your product and your brand, right? We hear you, we listen to you. Thank you so much for your feedback. And I think that, consumers really appreciate that perspective. And number two, if you want to continue to sell a great product, you've got to listen to the people that are using it. You've got to take them into mind. You've got to consider their pain points and what they love about it, and turn them both into things that you can improve upon.
Yeah, and I couldn't have said it better myself. That's literally, it all makes it just makes it everything so much easier when you have a segmentation strategy across the channels to just deliver a better customer experience and improve your brand, improve your voice with your customers. And so with that, when it comes to feedback, we do have some, when you're asking for reviews, you're asking for maybe it's seller feedback. We do have some best practices. So at the bottom, you'll see a little stat. Previously, we shared it a couple of slides ago, and I can go back and show you, but the average review rate right now on Amazon is 1 to 2%. Now, there's a caveat with that. Amazon does not disclose their data, specifically when it comes down to an order data or email data, things like that. But the common accepted number is between 1 and 2% across, McKinsey, other analysts, things like that. And so we've seen some of these best practices right here can lead to a 7 to 10% average review rate. Increase in average review rate month over month. So the ways to do that, it just kind of comes down to data and segmentation. You want to do smart targeting, right? You want to make sure that, anyone that buys the same product, so if it's the same ASIN, same SKU, however you're doing that, you want to make sure that they're all kind of lumped together. They're very similar already just by the one ASIN that they purchased. So you want to make sure that message is honed in on there. Repeat buyers, if you have somebody that is consistently buying across your channel, you might even, if the new product comes out and you might even want to target just repeat buyers on your products, so that potentially new buyers aren't able to give you some type of negative feedback. So you want to put up like kind of preventative measures to make sure that the wrong person isn't getting the wrong message, right? And that just comes in with what we call exclusion lists. So for instance, if you could just come off the top of your head, Jamila, what's one, if you were to get an Amazon product and potentially you didn't like it, you wanted to return it, and you were asked for whatever reason, didn't fit expectations, as you say, Amazon consumers' expectations are high. What's the probability you think that you'll get a 1 or 2 star review?
That I would give a 1 or 2 star review in that circumstance? Yeah, I think, it's always a mixed bag. If a consumer has a bad experience, they are motivated to let you
Yeah.
know, right? So they are motivated to give you that 1 or 2 star rating. I think it's harder to encourage the good experiences because people just kind of go off and they use your product, right?
Mhm.
But I would say the 1s and the 2s, are easier to solicit than the other ones. It's the other ones you really want, though.
Right. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, and honestly, when it comes down to it, people are probably going to be more likely, especially if they're emotional, right, upset about something, especially with a purchase, they just spent their hard-earned money. They're probably going to be more emotionally likely to leave negative feedback or reviews. So if somebody has set up a refund or a return, you want to make sure you have a system set in place to make sure that they do not get a review asked. Luckily, we do have a solution for that with our real-time refund and reimbursement API with Amazon. So that's just one way you can prevent negative feedback. Set up exclusion lists, people that don't get the right message, right, or the wrong message in this situation. Data is always best. You want to make sure you get that data. Delivery time, when you think about that, right? If you're selling supplements, you're not going to ask somebody for a review the next day because the supplements haven't come into effect. You're probably going to want to wait 28 days for a product review, right? Maybe for a baby's toy or something that they really want, or a toy or a toy for a child, right? Maybe that, right after the holiday time, you send in a nice email that says like, hey, what'd you think? Obviously the day after if it's a gift, they're going to want, especially if it's a toy, hey, immediate satisfaction. Thank you. This is great. Product review done. Customers right there giving you your insights, loving it, giving the story to other customers. You also want to make sure that you stay top of mind with your audience by sending product instruction emails or product specific information emails. Maybe if there's something flammable in there that you're selling, I'm not quite sure. I'm not that creative enough to think of something that would be flammable, but let it be known that, definitely if that's some information you need to get, tell the consumer ahead of time. They're shopping on Amazon. They don't want to open up a package and have, all sorts of paper instructions. Send them product instructions ahead of time. Maybe day of delivery would be a great time to do that, specifically if it's something that has to be built within an hour or two, like maybe like a room divider or something. Most importantly, always be testing, right? Test the subject line, test, tweak put a smiley face, in your email, see if that resonates more. Always, always, always test. And what's really important specifically for this audience, if you're a private label seller, you want to ask for product reviews, get your product information ahead, right? Your product is your only product, is the only product out there. Get the consumers to talk about the product reviews. Do not ask for seller feedback. By contrast, if you're a reseller, you're going to want to ask for seller feedback. How was the transaction? Rate the transaction. Was delivery seamless? Things like that. So if you segment based on what you want the consumer to do, right? So if product reviews and feedback are important, you can ask for both. That's actually allowed. And on Amazon, you can, you put it in there, one link, and they can do both. But if you really want to segment and get really smart about your strategy, get them to do exactly what you want them to do, which is either leave a product review or leave seller feedback. So we have one final question, and then we're going to get into our last couple minutes here. This is, we got Prime Day coming up. What's your biggest concern? What's your biggest challenge for the upcoming Prime Day? Tracking, measuring success, FBA inventory, storage, and fees, maybe supply chain disruptions. That's always a fun one. Inflation is high up in everyone's mind. So we'll give you a couple seconds there. Thanks so much for everyone putting in your numbers. It looks like advertising strategy and cost. Good thing Supply Kick is here, seems to be around 50%. Measuring success, inflation 14%. It's good to hear that it's not a huge concern right now. And then FBA storage and fees are obviously coming in there as well. So as you can see, 48% advertising strategy and cost. Thank you so much for participating. We got just 2 more slides for you. We're going to get right into your questions. Thank you all so much. This comes down to tracking, optimizing, measuring, testing, rinse, and repeat. This is marketing kind of 101. Jamila and I, we've been kind of hitting on this left and right today. We wanted to get this, and really, really one big takeaway that if we can give is any good marketing plan. It doesn't matter if it's just on Amazon. Obviously, for this session today, we're talking just Amazon. It doesn't really matter what you're doing unless you track the results and track the success. Listing changes, track it, right? You want to make sure you have that data ahead of time, so that if you make 1 or 2 tweaks, come back in a month, see if there's been any success. track it. Advertising, right? You put out 2 different videos, track it. Reviews. If you're seeing a product has certain reviews versus another one, you have some really good insights. Track everything to measure success. Monitor your ASINs and your SKUs for listing changes. Stay on top 24 hours a day of your store and your brand. Competitor pricing. Maybe you want to stay ahead of pricing. Monitor your ASINs, your SKUs, get all the full insights and data into your product, right? PPC costs, FBA and storage fees, get the profitability of each one of your products all the way down to an ASIN level. So you can really optimize your strategy of advertising, maybe consolidate all your storage fees and test it out. ABT, always be testing, right, Jamila?
That's right. And Sam, I want to connect the dots between what you were just saying and our poll question, right? So people have concerns about ad strategy and costs for Prime Day, right? Believe me, we feel that, we get that. And advertising is tricky enough with how much Amazon changes. So if you guys think about applying the always be testing mentality to advertising, you can't really go wrong, right? Try something. Don't be afraid to try something. Make sure you document that process, look at the results and learn from them, right? Apply that moving forward. That's how you start to build success and momentum. And when you think about something like Prime Day, where it's an overly saturated market about to drive even more traffic to its platform, I will say my one piece of advice is do not back off advertising just because traffic is going to increase. Why? Because everybody else is going to be advertising and they're going to be paying for a ranking that will get them served above your product or your brand if you aren't playing in the same sandbox. So I just want to leave you guys with that thought.
Yeah, try it. Don't be afraid to fail. You're probably going to. If you're afraid to fail, maybe, this is an industry in which you're going to. Don't be afraid to. In fact, you'll be surprised by the amount of success that can come with failures. We're gonna get to your questions in one moment, but as you think about this, you want to hit your goals. You don't want to scramble. We gave you a lot of information. Luckily, we have the great tools and resources of SupplyKick to help you with your marketing strategy, with your advertising strategy. We have some great tools at FeedbackWhiz to help your Amazon store be even more functional across multiple departments. We are officially announcing a new release here very shortly. It's in beta right now. It's called the Alerts Insight. Absolute Amazon moves fast, and this is a fast tool. You get to monitor the status of key Amazon projects. You can set up subscriber lists so that the right team member gets the right notification to ensure that there's smooth transition to customer support, maybe revenue teams, advertising teams, marketing teams. If you're using Trello or Jira or Asana, think about that before an Amazon store management. We're going to send out some information on that as well. And we'll be looking for beta users. So all you wonderful FeedbackWhiz customers out there, if you're interested, I'll send you our links that you can get started there. But most importantly, establish your KPIs and metrics before you set any type of strategy. Track it. The future of Amazon is moving very, very fast. It's all about being a functioning business on Amazon, all within that one channel. And I want to thank Jamila so much today for your time. We do have a couple questions that I think we got a few minutes that I'd love to go into, and our wonderful studio producer Molly's just waiting to get into them. So Molly, let's go right to those questions.
Dying to ask you some of these questions that a lot of amazing attendees have submitted. So the first one that we have that came through was, what is the advantage to using FeedbackWhiz as opposed to Amazon's request to review? Sam, I'll send that one over to you.
Absolutely. So the request review button's fine, but if you're looking to scale, it's not gonna. It's just not an option to scale manually. You have to press that button every single time. Now we do have an automated review request tool, so that our API will trigger that review request button, automate that for you. But when it comes down to it, you're not going to be around your computer. Chances are you're not going to be around your computer at the right time to send that right message by hitting the button. You really got to time it ahead of time and plan. So we set up timing triggers to activate that request to review button directly to the consumer, and we segment it down basically based on your KPIs and metrics. So it's all about automation. It's all about scalability. I would also recommend our email tools that are much more, that'll get you the 7 to 10% review rate, where you have the email tools and the email automated tools that we provide.
I love it. Great answer, Sam. Next, we have, what are some best practices for Amazon posts and customer engagement emails? We have used the emails and get opens and clicks, but have never seen any sales insight or insights on how to best use these tools. It kind of sounds like a joint answer between Jamila and Sam.
Sorry, I was on mute. Great question. The name of the game with the customer engagement tool is test and learn. No surprise, right? Continue to try things. They are borrowing, like I've mentioned, from sort of traditional digital marketing tactics. And just like those digital marketing tactics, you have to think about the impression that you are leaving on your consumer, and the fact that it may take time for them to come back and purchase again, right? So think about your sales cycle and how long that typically takes. Test and learn what you're asking of them, what information you're giving them, what education you're giving them in your follow-up emails. The point of the emails is really building loyalty. That's a long-term play, right? Posts, on the other hand, is feeding them information that will either likely help them convert. So, that's harder to track. Yes, I agree. But hopefully your organic search, or, you see increases in a halo effect, essentially, from your numbers from these tools. And don't give up on it. I will say that even Amazon says, gosh, you really almost need to have about 1,000 followers for those tools to really demonstrate a beneficial effect. It's such a small pool of people, if you're using those tools under 1,000 followers, for you to really take note. So again, another tip is I would focus on the follower strategy first, and continuing to feed them through your posts, then follow up with your marketing to really build their loyalty.
That is so great.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. I'm like, that was a very excellent answer. Very good job. I've had a couple of questions being asked about, like, if there's a recording being sent afterwards. So I just want to reiterate that, yes, we will send out the recording of this webinar to all registrants. So you will have that, and we'll be sharing it on social media and things afterwards as well. So you'll have that. It looks like, Sam, that you just answered the question, but we've had quite a few questions coming in about timing of review requests. So it might just be good to kind of reiterate that. It's what are the best days and time to send a review?
Yeah. So look, this is where segmentation and your data comes in, right? Like, you're not going to send a review if you're selling, 4 or 5 different products. It really depends on, one, your data that you have, but 2, the consumer behavior. So I would say this, depending on the product, if you don't have that insights, that's fine. Don't have the data, that's fine. Certainly, we can help you with that at FeedbackWhiz. But if you don't, I just kind of think about your customer for a second and think about if you were the buyer, right? Get into their persona. At what point would you like to be, notified to get a review? Because if you're selling supplements or if you're selling a bike, there's a 2 way different delivery times there. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to be coy with the answer, but it also really does depend on the type of product that's being delivered to the consumer. I mentioned a couple supplements. You probably want to wait 30 days. Toys, maybe immediately. Electronics,
Yeah.
headphones, things like that, probably immediately, almost within a day. So it really depends on the product. And if you'd like, we'll send out my email and everything, and anyone can ask us about any product that they're selling, and we'll find our insights and share that.
Awesome. That's great. We're about 3 minutes over, so I want to be cognizant of time, but I'll just ask this one last question that came through, and this kind of rounds it out nicely. But really, of all the tips you shared today, which do you think is the most important to implement before/during Prime Day?
I think just having this, put yourself into a position to succeed, right? Like, I'd say having the system set up so that you're able to easily track and measure before you even set anything up is probably most important. But I'm also kind of a very data-oriented marketing guy, so I'll let Jamila answer that.
I go back to the if you build it, they will come strategy. We've been talking about the holistic effects of everything that we are recommending. I think the first place you need to start is your SEO, to be honest. Your listings really have to be in a good place. So keywords first, that is what Amazon was founded on, right? Search engine. And then, look to all the other programs that we've talked about and kind of systematically try to check them off your list, but start with your SEO.
Yeah, and organic usually does take longer. So that's actually a very good answer. But make sure you note it, make sure you jot it down and the date and the time that you did it and start tracking.
Yep, great point. Good build, Sam.
Great. This has been absolutely wonderful. We're going to share our information after. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us, we'll send our email addresses over there. We're also going to send some follow-up emails. We've got a couple guides and video guides from Supply Kick, a couple from us here on how to optimize for Prime Day and setting yourself up for success in terms of getting the data and analytics that your store needs to survive and scale on Amazon. We're going to send that your way. But most importantly, Jamila, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy and you have so many insights on marketing and brand marketing specifically that, I'm just kind of blown away. I want to thank you so much. Molly, thank you so much for taking the chat and producing this wonderful session. And then all of you, this was a very information heavy webinar, information heavy session. Great questions. Thank you so much for your participation. We're going to follow up with the recording for you. We're definitely going to have some follow-up questions for us. We're always open, but thank you so much for your time. I know this was a long session, but I think it was really valuable. And we hope you found it as valuable as we did.
Right back at you, Sam, and way to make a marketer blush by telling them they're good at marketing. So I hope everybody really found this valuable and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information, please visit feedbackwhiz.com.